if you don't want to use the mic later on and you want to ask questions, I'll leave some paper up here with a pen and you can come and grab a paper.
So we have a technical update. Facebook, there's a glitch with the code, so it's not live on Facebook, but I'm relaying it live through YouTube, and I'm going to update a post on our Facebook page, so viewers online can tune there and watch it.
Sounds good.
We are good to go on YouTube.
All right. So first for the introductions. Firstly, at this end of the table, Krista Regier. Secondly, Christine McCarville. Third is Stephen Van Nieuwkerk. Next is Jeremy Cornell. Next is Sean Brown, followed by Scott Reddick, Sabrina Powers, and Carrie Bauer. So those are our 8 candidates. We'll start off with an easy one. What are 2 initiatives you personally plan to bring to council? And we'll start from this end.
Two initiatives that I would like to bring forward to council are to find ways to promote our business community, to really bring forward inviting businesses to our community and growing that. I think that needs to be our #1 priority, is really how do we grow that commercial. Along that lines, an initiative that is very important to me is bringing a hotel or a motel to our community. I think that we have so much potential here for recreational facilities and potential for events around our green spaces, so that we don't have the place for people to stay to support that.
One of the initiatives I would like to bring to council is to push for a policing review that is very similar to the fire department review that's currently going on. This policing review will help us determine how many more police officers we'll need, what their areas they should be focusing in, items like that. It'll also give us time to figure out how we need to budget for these extra officers. As well, I'm sure you're going to hear it down the line, bringing more businesses to town. We need a higher corporate tax rate, or taxes, in Beaumont. We need more businesses in here to lower your taxes and to help with the funding that's going to be going on.
First of all, thanks to everybody for coming out tonight. It means a lot for us to be able to stand up here and share our thoughts. And hi out to everyone on YouTube Live. Thanks for watching after everything's done. Continued community engagement. So that's actually something that I've been doing, and that's an initiative that I intend to continue to bring forward if I was elected councillor. Connecting with residents is important. It's the #1 thing that people can do to become involved with council and be part of the town. So paramount. There's a simple motion that I would like to bring forward, and I've shared it kind of, in jest with a couple of candidates in the past, and that would be actually around election signs. It's not a real groundbreaker, folks, but I know that there was a lot of conversation around how many, how much, and how long the signs were up. I'd like to bring down a motion to decrease that.
Yes, thank you very much. A couple of initiatives that I campaigned on last time, and again are very important to me. #1 is long-term planning. In my career history in project management, as well as in the nonprofit sector, there's great value in long-term planning and developing initiatives so that we're not reacting to things as they come, but we have a plan going forward, not just for this council, but for the council after that and the council after that. That includes recreation, arts, culture, and commercial development master plans that the town, a lot of these things we have, but they need to be updated and we need to be looking proactively as our town continues to grow. Another initiative that is something I talked about last time as well, and is still very important, is the building of relationships with our neighbors in the county and the city of Edmonton and all those around us. Those relationships are going to help the town to grow and to find the means to continue developing, and it's just important, and those are my two initiatives.
Thanks everybody for coming. My first initiative would be fiscal responsibility, and I know we've heard a lot of talk about cutting, saving, doing those type of things, but revenue is very important to a town as well. When you look at a budget, you've got your expenses and you've got your revenues. We're not doing a great job on the revenue end, whether that be sponsorship or other business opportunities that we can take upon ourselves to do as a town. With that initiative comes attraction of business. If you're successful, the town's doing well, the town's making money, you can look after your social programs. But if you've got no money, you're not able to give the money to the Blues Roots Festival, other programs like that. But if you're successful, the town's doing well, the town's in the black, you're able to help with social programs, so fiscal responsibility so we can help with social programs. Thank you.
First off, thanks everybody for coming out tonight, for being a part of this, and people watching on YouTube as well. First initiative that I would bring is within the first few weeks, I would make a motion to review and revise our business bylaws for signs. That's the biggest one that I hear out there from different business owners, that they can't have wayfinding signs, they can't have enough of what their services they offer on their signs, so we really need to increase what we offer for the businesses to be successful. The second initiative is bringing in programs and activities for our special needs and disabilities groups. That's a huge one for me that I heard a lot on the last campaign and up until this, where we want to encourage them to be a part of our community, and so far they're really not hearing it very much.
Thank you. So two initiatives that I'd really like to work on right away is sourcing out ways to generate revenue that comes into the town. So for example, we've got this giant sign on the north end of town there, and businesses aren't allowed to advertise on that. So if you put it into perspective, just imagine if you had 5 businesses that put in $250 a month to say, just as an example, the Crepe and Shake wishes Beaumont a good night. Who wouldn't? I know businesses will pay for that option. I know it sounds really weird, but we're in a town where we have to think outside the box, and we have that sign, and those signs are used for advertising all over the city, all over the province. We should be able to do that. So that, of course, will generate income. First of all, that'll pay off the sign, and then, of course, generate that income that we need to have. The second thing I would really like to see is, of course, new businesses. So I'm a business owner, so this is a big one for me. It hits home. It makes me have the feels. So not only do we have to attract new businesses, but we have to work with our existing businesses and help them grow as well. So I think there's some changes that need to be done there. Okay, gotta go away.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending tonight. I just want to say, I think what I would want to first start off is reviewing the strategic plan. We really have to make sure that we're aligned with what we already have laid out. And then the second thing is, it has everything to do with economic development, but it's bringing in a business retention and expansion strategy. We have to look at all of planning and infrastructure with an economic development lens and how it's going to affect economic development. Now, I know that seems boring, but we have to do all our planning, and now that all our planning, and it needs to affect, we need to see how it affects the businesses in town. So if we're going to plan a pool, let's make sure that it's big enough to attract your swim meets so that we can bring the people that would need a hotel. We have these things that we need to look, we have to understand, we have to take a holistic approach to how everything affects something else.
Okay, I'll ask one more from the list that I've received, and then we'll go to the crowd and see if somebody here in the room has a question. The second question, the cost of meeting rooms in town of Beaumont facilities is very expensive for small groups. Would you be in favor of setting up a reasonable flat fee for one meeting per month for nonprofit community groups?
Yes, I would, but at the same time, I would be asking where people are currently looking for the meeting rooms. I have heard various different numbers depending on what your group is and where you are going for the amounts. So for nonprofits, one meeting a month at a certain location in a certain room, I agree with, but I don't believe it should be every meeting room across town.
Flat fee for meeting room for user groups, I think that's a pretty easy way to support user groups in town. Supporting user groups and bringing user groups together is something also that would be very important in town. When we look at the spaces that we have and that are currently used by user groups in town, you know, we go from big to small, we go from municipal, we go to you know, the CCBCC rooms, and we have, you know, the teen room, we have a space at the library. So I think we need to set aside one spot that's going to work and that sets a level playing field for that. An evaluation of some of the spaces that we have in town that could also work to accommodate larger groups at different times might also be beneficial in this review and quick policy set.
This is a very interesting question. I personally sit on a number of nonprofit boards and organizations and have for many years. And to be honest, this is never anything that's come up in any of the groups I've been involved with as far as the fees. We've been very happy with the CCBCC and the level of service compared to the nonprofit rates that they offer. They do offer a nonprofit rate as versus the commercial rate. And we've been very pleased with that as far as the rooms we've needed to rent. But I would definitely be interested in having this discussion, and I know as a member of the Beaumont Society for the Arts, one of the things that group is mandated to do is kind of collect all of the nonprofit groups into one pool, and so we can have these kind of discussions and decide what the issues are for all of the groups, and then we can formulate plans and act as one voice and go towards the town and to these organizations and see what we can do to negotiate on things like room rental rates, and I'm very proud to be part of that organization, and I see that as a step forward in that direction. Thanks.
I think that a flat rate would be fair for all the groups, but from listening to Jeremy, it doesn't seem that it's a problem. So again, we go back to the revenue. If we're generating revenue from it, it's a fair revenue, and the user groups are willing to pay it, then we have to look at continuing to charge them. I'm not sure what a flat fee means. Right now, I think there's probably a flat fee. If a room's $100, it's $100, it's a flat fee. If they're looking for a discounted rate, that's something that could be looked at. But again, that cuts back from the revenues. If the user groups are generating revenue themselves and they're able to pay for it, and there doesn't seem to be much of a problem, I don't see much in the point in doing a flat reduced fee. Thank you.
I don't see a problem with it on one hand, and on the other hand I do. All the user groups, all the nonprofits are not the same size, so I don't think we can really be biased that way in providing something for a group of 8, the same fee for the group of 100, same for a group like cadets, the same fee for something like a cadets group, and the same for someone that's actually generating revenue. It wouldn't be fair to do that way, I don't think. But it would depend on room size of room and flat rate that way, depending on the user group as well. We'd have to really break it down. I would think we'd have to really bring in a lot more information before that decision was made.
I think that having a nonprofit group rate is feasible. I'm not saying that I'm for or against it, but I think we need to look at ways that we could make up that loss of revenue. And I think some of those possibilities are, for example, the CCBCC. It's very underutilized for what it is. It is a gorgeous new building. Like for example, the Colonial Golf Course was actually at the bridal show this weekend in Northlands. Well, why wasn't our CCBCC there? because that is a perfect venue for a wedding and it would generate that interest. And of course, we're gonna be promoting the local caterers, we're gonna be promoting local businesses to help with that wedding. So I know it's just a wedding, but that building should be utilized every weekend for weddings, and that kind of money could really help lower those prices for the nonprofit organizations, so we can offer them, you know, a meeting room rate for nonprofits. So that's where I would like to see that go.
I guess the money has to come from somewhere. We can talk about giving a flat rate or giving a free meeting time once a month for our nonprofits, and that would be wonderful. But that speaks really to the policy that they're putting forward right now. It's a social policy that admin is working on, and so we can talk about the subsidies across the board. We're not just talking about rental space, we're talking about different grants that we're giving rec groups or cultural activities. This is all, it all speaks to the same thing, and I think that we can't just do a one-off on rooms. I think that we really need to look at the bigger picture and look at where we're putting our money and why.
This is actually something that had come up when I was the president of Beaumont Indoor Playground. We would have a meeting once a month, and we attempted to use the rooms at the Ken Nichols Center, and we couldn't get into them because it wasn't in our budget, so we met in people's homes. I think that if it was a set rate and a flat rate, it would be a better support to these smaller nonprofit groups like Beaumont Indoor Playground. I think we also need to take it a step further and look at some of these places that are renting long-term. Beaumont Indoor Playground rents the banquet room at a time when it's not being utilized. They use it from October to May each year. They have been a long-term renter. And I think that it's time that we try and support a group like that and not only help them get meeting space, but also try and reduce their rates so they can keep their membership low, and they're using it as a time when it's not being utilized. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the audience. Does anybody have a question that they'd like to ask?
Thank you. I'm curious of each of the candidates' position on the Phase 2 outfit as it stands for the council today.
You stole one of my good ones from the end. Starting with Stephen. This was the question I had for the end. 3 minutes on this one because they're gonna need it.
Okay, Phase 2 Aquafit as it stands today, and I get to go first with the toughest question, so here we go. This, I've seen a lot of conversation on this. I've talked to a lot of people on this. I've spoken to the candidates that are up here on this. It's been an issue on the doors, it's been an issue at all the sessions, and it's something that I've personally struggled with, you know, what is the right answer. When I look to how I run my life fiscally responsibly as possible, one of the things I know is that I can only borrow so much money in life, and I only make so much money, so I can only spend so much money. And you know, when I look at the facility that's in front of us, you know, I've been to all the sessions and I've listened to all the conversation. I've talked to the architect. You know, they've scaled back the design to save some dollars, staying within the French theme. They've consulted with all the user groups about, you know, what do you want to see in here and why. And we've seen polls on Facebook. We've seen posts on Facebook. One of them just exploded within the last day or so here. So, two hats. Personal Steve says, no, I wouldn't do that. And why wouldn't I do that? Because man, I sure want to buy some other things in life, and I sure have some other capital projects that I want to move forward on. There are other plans. There's other boards. There's other people. out there, and they're gonna need support as well. There's personal Steve. If I'm so elected, I'm gonna continue to work with people. I'm gonna continue to listen. The conversation was left at budget, and I watched the compromise happen up on the stage right in front of me. You know, the council was fairly divided, and there were some strong feelings from the historical side of the room, or sides of the room, and then there were some feelings of, well, you know, where do we stand? Because we've heard a lot of people saying that I support this, and when I run a flag up the pole, which is something you need to do when you're making a tough decision, and when I've seen it done, I've seen about 2/3 support for building the aquafit, and I've seen about 1/3 against. And I've seen that continually. I actually went back and counted the posts on Beaumont Talks just to see where does the 2/3, where does the 1/3, where does that stand? The poll that actually Christine put up, you know, it was kind of 2/3, 1/3. So one of the things that you need to do is you need to listen to people. And you know, if the town wants to build this and is okay with the repercussions of these higher taxes, which is going to come, the dollars are out there, check. Then it's something that I could support on a compromise basis, the way that they did in the budget, subject to grants. We can't afford the 30 million all at once. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, well, in regards to the aquafit, I think what a lot of people can agree is that it's time to do something. We've been talking about this for up to 17 years. This has been going through many councils, and it's time that we need to act. We need to do something. But we also have to be smart about what we're doing, and we have to be fiscally responsible, as Stephen mentioned. So one of the hang-ups I have with the whole thing is that the town is lacking a long-term recreation master plan, which is the plan that will guide us into the next 10, 15, 25 years. That plan needs to be updated, and it needs to include this aquafit phase 2 so we can see where that fits now and in the future, so that we're building the appropriate facility for our town's needs, not just today, but in 5 years and in 25 years. And that master plan will guide the future councils as well as the current council as we move forward. As Stephen mentioned, in the budget workshop, the council and mayor have conditionally approved the going forward on this plan based on getting some solid quotes, as well as conditional to grants and fundraising. Personally, I have over 12 years of professional experience working in fund development, stewarding sponsors and donors in the nonprofits industry or world. Grants and funding at this scale, that's the long game. You don't walk up to somebody and get a $10 million check tomorrow. So we need to be building those relationships and working with our, as I mentioned, our neighbors in the county and the city and the provincial government and the federal government, and playing that long game and really building those relationships. And I think our new mayor and our new council, they've definitely kicked things off on the right foot, and they're heading in that direction. And I would be proud to be part of that team and add my services wherever I could. And certainly, if we're not able to secure that kind of additional funding through grants and through other levels of government, then I certainly wouldn't support necessarily going out and getting a $30 million loan tomorrow and building this thing. I think we definitely have a strong potential of getting those grants, and I think that there's a really positive outlook in that regard. But if, you know, the worst case scenario happens, then I really believe we need to go back to the drawing board and be fiscally responsible and look at what the other options were over the last 17 years, look at what options we've had in the past, and look at where we can go in a different direction so we can still get our facilities but not burden the taxpayers to the extent that the full $30 million would do to our town. So I guess in short form, I do support us doing something. I do support us moving forward and not continuing to spin our wheels, and I really think that there's a strong potential of working with the council, this council, the next council, and our administration to build those relationships and steward those long-term donors and fundraising, and that's my time, so thank you.
If anybody saw the Facebook post today, this is going to come as a surprise, but I'm one of the 2/3 that probably voted to build the aquafit, or expand the aquafit. We need to do something. We've got to get something done. But if I'm elected to council, or when I'm elected to council, I wouldn't build it in the form that it is now. $29.5 million over 25 years is $60,000 from every household in Beaumont. That's a lot of money. We have to look to the future. And the future is $60,000 out of every one of our households. I'm not in favor of that. I think there's been some great options presented on Facebook. I think they need some tweaking. I think we can still get shovels in the ground this fall. Expand the aquafit the way it is right now. Put the plan, everybody's seen the phase plan, chop the rink off, build it with just a field house, with room for a second field house to go on in the future. The field house that they've got in the plan, the walking groups have said is not good enough. It's only 2 lanes wide. If you've got 2 people walking, stroller, you can't get past people. They've been to places where that doesn't work. So expand the field house a little bit, put in a 3 or 4 lane walking track, still get our gym, still get our climbing wall, still have a beautiful facility that everybody can be proud of in Beaumont, but leave the rink off. That leaves us room for future expansion to put another field house on that when we have some room and time, money down the road. Hockey, ringette, figure skating, all the other ice sports. I'm a ringette dad. I've got 2 daughters in ringette. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the rink. I go to Deuce Rep at 4:30 for practices, leave work early. We don't need to bankrupt our children's future to put a piece of ice in. For $2 million, we can throw something on the outskirts of town so the kids can have a practice facility. It doesn't need fancy scoreboards, it doesn't need all this stuff, they just need a place to practice, that's all they need. $17 million, I talked to the architect at the last open house, $15 million they could build the field house for us, and $2 million for a practice facility for ice sports. So we're $17 million all in, and with grants and subsidies, we could have that paid off in 5 years. Then we can build other stuff. If we maximize our borrowing to 25 years for $29.5 million, we're not going to get an expansion of the library, we're not going to get a dog park, we're not going to get anything else we want, because we're going to be broke. That's what it comes down to. Thank you.
First off, I need to commend the past council and current council on dealing with this really with integrity, and it is hard. I find it on the campaign trail during the last election, this one as well, where people are one way and the other. Steve said it perfectly, 2/3 are for, 1/3 is against. When you talk to people one-on-one, it seems to be 50-50. When I asked some advice and talked to some past councillors, they've said it's always 50-50 in this town. So it's something that we really need to make a smart decision on. We need to make a wise decision. Being fiscally responsible with my own company, it would be the same way in town. I've said it before, we need to make smart decisions with every decision we make. We can't rush a decision. We can't make a decision that will cost this town and, like Sean said, our children's futures. We need to make a town that, or a decision that's going to benefit this town, but not destroy everyone's tax base here. We need to bring in all of our information. We need to assess everything. There's ideas on Facebook, there's ideas from friends, there's ideas from different architects where they're saying you can build this ice rink for only $2 million. Some are saying build it in phases. Some are saying build the aquafit in phase 2. Some are saying let's invest more time into Red Crow properties and see what they're about. We really need to sit down, have everything brought before us or before council, and make an informed decision sooner rather than later.
Okay, so it's hard to answer this question if everybody's already said what I was going to say. So when it comes to the aquafit, that price tag scares me. The fact that our taxes are going to have to go up again scares me. And the fact is right now with our current aquafit, the admission prices, sure they might be competitive, but the prices have gone up. They keep going up, and there's no increase in services there per se. So to jump right in and build something that is $29.5 million, and we still can't even generate, the aquafit we have now doesn't even stand on its own right now. So I would like to see more futuristic goals. I'd like to see more dollars. Like if 100,000 people visit the pool this year, this is how much we're going to make, or this is how much we're going to lose. I'd also like to see better marketing and advertising put out there as well. I mean, you've got these great facilities, and we all know about Millennium Place and Shore Park because they advertise. We all know about the LRC because they advertise. Again, it comes down to the community center, it comes down to the aquafit. There's no advertising out there, there's no marketing out there. We should be pushing that. And once we have some of those numbers and those ideas out there, maybe the $29 million won't be so hard on our tax base. but we need to see the futuristic plans on that first. So I'm all about the money there on that one, so.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. I can really appreciate the marketing side of things, and, you know, if we want the business, we need to let everyone know that we're here. First of all, I just want to thank council. This past weekend for budget, a councillor presented another option. To get to the meat of it, it was about providing the service that we need. We are all very aware that we need recreational facilities. But the bottom line is the economic sustainability of this town. And at $29.7 or $0.5 million, without addressing the regional needs, only addressing ours, I believe it's a mistake. I really feel that we have to access our partnerships, we have to access grants, we have to go about it as a region to see what other things we're able to tap into. We look at, there's a whole bunch of, through the federal government, they come up with Canadian Infrastructure Bank. And there's money to be had from those banks, low interest rates, but we're not looking at those because we're scared that we won't be able to get them because we don't have, we don't want to partner with private industry. It's like, we can. There's funds out there. The provincial government is giving funds when we collaborate. That's the only way we're going to get our facilities that we need in Beaumont. We don't just need rec facilities. Just like John said, we need arts and culture, we need a new library, we need a new fire hall. It's not going to stop at $29.5 million. We have to approach it fiscally responsible.
So the Aquafit Phase 2, I think, has some merit to it. It is addressing the need for more recreational facilities in the community, and we do need those. I'm with everyone else on the $29.5 million price tag. That's not something that I feel the Beaumont needs right now. We need to be researching these other options that have been coming forward. Redco has come up with a proposal to collaborate with the community to get these facilities built to help meet the needs of the community without the community taking on the full cost. In my opinion, this would be a better support right now for the community with all the other needs that are coming forward. I also feel like that proposal that came up at the budget workshop and has been discussed on Facebook to bring in some large tents to build something quickly, get something up, meet the facility needs for the community, and then give us the opportunity to consider the larger projects, consider a way to make them sustainable, to consider a way to put them in a place where there's room for growth, because our community's not going to stop growing. So I do think that the idea behind Phase 2 is a wonderful idea. It will meet the needs for the facilities. I think that Beaumont needs to consider the other options that are out there and that are coming forward. One of the problems I do have with the facility is they're saying it'll be good into 2030. It'll be good for a population of 30,000 people. I don't think when they're taking population into account that they're considering how large our youth population is. Our youth population is an anomaly in a community, and that I don't feel is being considered in the building of all these facilities. Thank you.
Aquafit Phase 2. Well, when I was campaigning back in October, I actually had 2/3 of everybody I speak to not want it. So when I put I did the poll on Facebook. When I did it, it was actually shocking to me that 2/3 suddenly wanted it. My job is a financial planner. I would never tell one of my customers to go out and borrow $29 million, putting them almost at their cap. That is something I could never tell a client, so I could not tell the town of Beaumont to do the same thing. If there's ways we can get our grants, if there's ways we can get corporate sponsorship, then that's something to look at. But to burden everybody with a tax raise of approximately $250 a month, I think it was quoted, to $300 a month, I don't think that's attainable right now. We have single parent families in Beaumont. We have low income families in Beaumont. This would raise their rents. This would raise, if they have no property, raise their taxes, and people just can't afford it. So as Aquafit Phase 2 stands right now and borrowing the total amount, I'm not for it.
All right, any other questions from the audience? Gentleman back here.
I'd like to know how many of the candidates have or are operating a business successfully.
Did everybody hear the question?
Yes.
Is that all?
Yes, well, candidates operating a business successfully. So I work in the nonprofit sector, so I manage a chapter of a national nonprofit organization, and I look after all aspects of that for Edmonton and Northern Alberta. That's my day job. On the side from that, I sit on the board for a couple of different nonprofits, including the Beaumont Blues and Roots Festival that I've been managing for a number of years as a volunteer. So it's not a paid position, but it's what I do, and it's essentially like running a business, but for free. And then my wife also has her own business that I am a partner with her in and help her out where I can with that. So I guess that's my business experience. My background is in management and leadership and project management prior to moving into the nonprofit sector. So I have a lot of experience with budgeting and scheduling and all of the things that go along with that. So that's my answer.
Years ago, excuse me, sorry, I got a cold. 15 years ago, I started NWT Safety in Nisku. If you drive past McDonald's today and look to your left or look to your right across the tracks from the McDonald's. Started that 15 years ago. It's a safety industrial supply house. I also started 2 doors down from that. If you look, there's White Bear Workwear, which is coverall, fire retardant coverall. We manufacture those in Mexico. Started that 15 years ago. I sold it off during the 08 recession. Times were tough, the oil field just dropped, so it was time to get out. They're still both successfully running today. If you drive by and you can see they're there. I went to work for Solvent Buddy for a little bit as their business development manager. I'm good friends with the owner there. And then it was time to strike out on my own again. So I started 3G Safety in Atchison. So basically the same thing as NWT Safety, I'm back at it again. I missed the customers, I missed the relationships. And we're successfully running, got 4 employees. And for not-profit type stuff, I was involved with the CRC, the Canadian Ringette Championships in Leduc last year. 7-day event, we actually brought $150,000 in profit back to the 3 communities that were involved. So it was a profitable event. Thank you.
I've been an entrepreneur and business owner for about 10 years now. 5, I was owned and operated my own catering company out of Edmonton. The recession and a little bit downturn of that, I slowly got out of that, and now I own and operate my own courier company. With owning a business and being an entrepreneur, that's one of my true passions, to collaborate with other businesses and other entrepreneurs too. So that's where I get my passion for supporting the business community and making Beaumont a success for them.
My husband and I actually, we own 3 businesses. Well, there's 4 technically, but one of them we're not really doing much with. So we have 3 businesses. So my husband and I, we've owned these businesses. Well, Powers and Associates Appraisal Services specializes in property tax assessment, and we have contracts with 7 or 8 municipalities all over Alberta. We've had that company for over 15 years. I want to say it's almost 18 years now we've had that company. We also own Kryptonite Tanning Studio, which is our storefront business, and and that's over by the Esso station. We've had that one for 5 years now. And we also, I'm also the owner of a simulation event, so I'm actually an event planner on the side as well. So with that particular company, I get to pick and choose my events, so I don't work them as often as I would like, but they're a lot of fun. And I'd love to bring some of these events to Beaumont. So that's my background with, as an entrepreneur. I haven't had an actual like T4 employee job in 20 years now. So that's all I know, and it's, I don't know if I'd ever go back to anything else. So, thank you.
As most of you know, I own the Crate and Shake Cafe in the heart of downtown. I started it up with my family and my kids, and we kind of built on what we had, and we have a historical home that was built in '39, and we built around that and tried to establish a real special place here in Beaumont. I have 22 employees, and I do feel that it's a successful business. If that's what you are asking, I believe it is successful. And I believe it's something special. I've actually had many opportunities to partner with other restaurants and the schools, local businesses, and I just find that having that knowledge and that storefront to really find out, I guess it gives you an opportunity to converse with residents, and really it gives you that opportunity to really understand what's going on in the community. And I find where I am and what I'm doing, that gives me a true opportunity to do so.
I do not own a business. I have never owned a business. I work as an aide to children with special needs. I do in-home support as well as program support in schools, play schools, daycares, wherever it's needed. On that note though, I was on the executive for Beaumont Indoor Playground for 5 years and 2 years as president. I was also one of the founding members and president of a gymnastics club in Leduc. I was president of that one for 4 years, and starting up, we had to learn the budgets, we had to learn how to create what we needed to become a registered nonprofit. So while I do not own a business, I have still had experience in budgeting and in that side of running things from my involvement with nonprofit programs. I also currently sit on the board for a program that supports families and children with autism. So I'm still involved on that side of things.
I did not own, but I did run a very successful managing general agency for about 5-6 years. To give you an idea, I went off on mat leave, they sold the business. So after I left there, I opened up my own company in which I now do financial planning through, and I've been running the company for about 7 years now on my own.
Hello. As some people know out there, I was a business owner for about 8 years. The company that we own is actually on the water bottle here, Navis Environmental. I got a background in environmental consulting, educated at the University of Alberta. Budgeting, prioritizing, and making decisions in the best interest of the business is something that I was tasked with daily, and any business owner is. In that business, I wore a lot of hats. I was the general manager of the business. I was in charge of our fleet and equipment team. I was in charge of our safety program. I was the guy that went and made sure all the trucks were backed in just so no one steals our tailgates, because that was the thing and it happened. Business development, daily as a business owner, you always have to understand where is your next job coming from. Consulting, anyone who's in that business, you know you're only as good as your last job. We grew the business. I had 2 business partners, 102 staff, a full accounting team, full HR team under our privy, acquired by the company that I currently work for in 2015.
Before we take the next question, I forgot to make some introductions at the beginning. In the audience this evening, we have former Mayor Camille Berube. We have former Councillor Bruce LaFrenne. We have present Mayor John Stewart. And present councillors Bill Daniluk, Kathy Barnhart, and Martin Stout. That's about it. Anybody else in the audience have a question? Just a reminder, all the questions are to be for all candidates, not for one single candidate.
If you are elected councillor, how will you help the town increase its accessibility? So for people in wheelchairs, like walking trails and stuff like that.
That's a great question. I hate to go back to revenues all the time, but when council's got a budget, they're looking at what they can spend money on. They have to look at what they can spend the money on. When you're doing well, you're successful, things are good, you can do a lot more. So in order to being successful will allow us to do more for the community as a whole. That's my answer, thank you.
Tying into my last question with owning my own company, SGR Courier, I subcontract out about 200 carriers. Some are in Leduc, some in Beaumont, some in Edmonton. With the ones in Leduc, I have a few carriers that work out of Leduc Links. They're a program and facility there for special needs, for disabled. And I would definitely contact them to see the best way or the best route to take to do or to make everything accessible for everyone. And I think it would be beneficial for this community if they see that there's something that's not there that needs to be there. I think the town needs to hear it, council needs to hear it, and we need to make a decision on that to make it accessible for everyone.
I think with regards to accessibility, I think one of the major points that has to be touched base on is the snow clearing on the sidewalks. They're not great, let's face it. Like, you know, if I go walk my dog and I'm not talking about your neighbor's sidewalks or your neighbor's driveways or anything like that, but I'm actually talking about like our public walkways and stuff. You know, I've got, when I'm outside walking, running, jogging, doing whatever I'm doing, I have to be very cognizant of the ice on the roads, and I have to be on the sidewalks and all the paths that I'm on. So I think that's one thing that we definitely have to look at, and that would hopefully help with the accessibility. But the other thing that I'd also like to look at is the signage bylaw for the businesses. You know, there are signs out there on some of the patios that are out there and stuff like that. The setbacks aren't that great, so the sidewalks are fairly narrow. So to add signs and planter boxes and all that stuff, although they are beautiful, it may not. They do need to be adjusted so that we can make room for the ones that are in the wheelchairs and the strollers, because it can be a little bit tricky navigating that certain area. So yeah, those are the things I'd look at.
Thanks for the question. My brother is a C5 quad, so accessibility is fairly important to me. I think that the entire community, I think that everyone who lives here deserves to have a barrier-free living. I really don't think that it's up to whether we're doing good or we're not doing well economically. I think that everyone deserves barrier-free. And that doesn't just mean that we have a sign that says we're wheelchair accessible. I really do believe that this has to go down to ensuring that our curb cuts are low enough and flat enough so we can actually move and get up without falling out of a chair. I believe that we need to ensure that our light switches that we go to press to go across the street, if someone's in a chair, they don't have to go out onto the road to push it. This is a big issue, and with an aging community, I don't believe that 8 to 80 is good enough. It needs to be barrier-free.
Touching a little bit on what Carrie said, if you walk through the community, you will find lots of places where one side you've got the wheelchair accessible curb, on the other side you've got a normal curb. I think that we need to go through and we need to repair those areas and make both sides wheelchair accessible. I've been attending the council meetings, the budget workshop. There is current funding in there for doing some sidewalk repairs. So let's include those sidewalks where they're not completely wheelchair accessible. Let's make that accessible through the whole community. Also, I spoke to somebody during the campaign, they said that there are times they can't get their vehicle out because snow removal is not being done. And they cannot get out their spouse who's in a wheelchair. So we need to look at those things. We also need to look at continuity. Sometimes we have sidewalks or walking paths that just come to an end and then it's dirt. If you're in a wheelchair, you're not gonna get through there. So we need to make sure that those are continuous throughout the community. Thank you.
I'll be honest, I'm not well versed in this topic whatsoever. So I would be relying on the public and the groups that need those accesses to come to me, to speak to me. And once I have a better understanding of what you're looking for, then I would be able to help you more.
Thank you for the question. I think it's important to first take a step back and examine what we have in place and make sure what we have is being used. I'm an avid user of the pool. I heard a story about a patron in the pool who stopped coming to the pool because of access issues to the pool, and there are stairs there that can be used, and I guess they just weren't being put in all the time. We have to understand what we have and go for it. I was very refreshed at the budget workshop on the weekend to hear a lot of passion around trails and snow clearing. If we get a snowstorm on the weekend, we heard it takes 2 days to clear all the trails in town. If we get a snowstorm on the weekend, you know, we may not have the trails in our area cleaned until the Tuesday or end of day Tuesday or beginning of day Monday. There was a lot of passion in the room led by some councillors and our mayor around improving that service. It's something that we heard about a lot. Understand who the groups are, make sure that we understand their needs and use what we have in place. Thank you.
That's a great question, so thank you for that. It's actually funny, one of the things, when I arrived here at 5 o'clock today and came up those front stairs, I went around to see if there was accessibility, because I know there are some in our community who attended the previous forums and where accessibility is an issue, and I do have some contacts in the community that are in that situation. So I think, you know, I personally don't have those issues, but I think it's important that the council and administration consult with the community and make sure we are aware of what those issues and concerns are and do what we can to help. You know, it's sure there is always a cost to certain things, but you know, I think that there's a social impact that far outweighs the cost on some of these type of situations. And I too, Stephen stole my thunder, but I definitely want to commend the current mayor and council, because for those of us who were in attendance at the budget workshops on the weekend will be aware that they did make some steps forward to ensuring our pathways get cleared a lot quicker during a snowstorm, so thanks.
Okay, any other questions from the audience?
Can I ask a second?
Well, nobody else is, so you might as well.
There's a lot of talk about bringing business into Beaumont. And I'm very curious about how you people feel if the French theme has been a hindrance or a plus in bringing business into Beaumont.
Regarding the French theme, talking to residents, a lot of people find it attractive or appealing. It is unique for our town. I would consider or would want to revise and review, or at least review the bylaws regarding the French theme to see if we can ease on the restrictions. I know the price tag is quite high for builders, how much they add on to, for example, where Chartier's building is, it was an extra $250,000 just for those upgrades. So we really need to be careful with what we're telling businesses what they can and can't do. Regarding the French theme, I would be really careful for reviewing it and doing our best to make it a little bit easier for less cost for the building.
So with the French theme guidelines, I do feel that we need to make a review to the current guidelines, and we do need to make a few changes. I'm not saying that I don't love the French theme, because we do have a cute downtown core. We really do. Like, let's admit that. It's cute, it's kitschy, it's awesome, everybody loves the looks of it. So what I'd like to do is have a look at maybe possibly lowering those guidelines for any businesses that are outside the downtown core. Scott was right, at about $250,000 just in the French theme guidelines. That's a lot of money for a developer to put in. And of course, who gets those costs? The business owners, the person who's leasing that space. The costs in Beaumont, our lease rates are just as high as White Avenue. So we don't get the foot traffic they do. They get what, 18, 20,000 people a day in the summer, and we have 18,000 residents. Like, we're not even, there's no reason why we should have to be paying those lease rates. And I think that the French guidelines, unfortunately, those costs, they come back to us, which is why we're having a hard time helping grow existing businesses, because they can't afford the lease rates and they're just too high. So I think that is something for sure we need to look at, and that's my time's up.
To answer your question, I think yes. Yes, they are inhibiting some businesses coming to town. And with that, I would say, yes, they need some revision, and I believe that. But the whole thing with the French Village Guidelines is that they make us unique. And that's what we need. If we want to be different from the city of Edmonton, Strathcona County, we have to offer something different. Now, we can go back to what Sabrina had touched on earlier. We have to market what we're about, what the French Village Guidelines, like how they contribute to what we have to offer as a community. We have to market it. We have to get people to buy into Beaumont. It's not just the expense. There's so much more to the French Village Guidelines. Yes, they need review, and I believe that that's already in the works with the administration that we have in place right now.
The French theme for our community, I think, is a plus in that it does set us apart. It does make us unique, and because of that French theme, people are talking about Beaumont. Some people come out here to see the French theme. I think that for the businesses that want to come in here, it is a hindrance. And like Sabrina, I think our downtown core is great. I love to go through there, and I don't feel, like I'm stuck in downtown Edmonton. It's nice, it's beautiful, but we also need to relax the guidelines. If you're not building in the downtown core, the French theme doesn't need to be as strong, I believe. I think that we need to be able to relax it depending on the area of town that you are in. And then that would bring more businesses, I think, because there are options for the lower costs as well as the higher costs of building and operating your business. Thank you.
I do believe a review needs to be done on our French theme. From when I was talking to people, it was an additional cost that did cause issues with building, therefore the tenants, etc. I personally feel that we should keep the French theme in the downtown core. If you want to be in the downtown core, you can pay the higher prices. But if you want to be outside the downtown core, then relax it a bit to try to help more businesses come in.
Thank you for the question. Anecdotally, business owners have told me that the French design guidelines have cost more money. They've cost more money in setup. We've heard that from a couple of candidates here. I think there's probably no question that we need to have a look at the bylaw around the French guidelines and evaluate and make sure they're working. One of the important things we need to do is talk to the businesses and ask them and gain their input as we do that. We can't just mail out a survey and have them send it back. I think we need to engage and we need to reach out one-on-one and individually to businesses as much as we can to gain as much support as we can. It is important to pay respect to the French heritage in Beaumont. Is it best done on buildings? I don't know. There are a whole bunch of other ways that I do know that we can respect the French heritage in Beaumont. And it's by engaging with citizens who have ideas around how to do that that we're going to figure out what those many ways are. At the end of the day, we need to make ourselves unique and stand out. It's a big job.
I think it's important for any community to be unique and to be something we can all be proud of, and something that people will remember when they visit our town and talk to their friends about it. But that said, we also need to be smart about what we're doing. And as with all policies and procedures and systems that are in place, we definitely need to be on a regular schedule of reviewing them and making sure that they are suitable for the times and making sure that they suit the current needs of the community and going forward progressively and not what was relevant a few years ago. So I think we can do a better job of that, and I think that we really, when it comes to business, we just need to do a better job, as it's been said, of selling our community, giving people a reason to open a business here, and making sure that they're successful by giving them the support they need. The sign bylaw is one thing that's been mentioned, and that's something I've been intimately involved with as it's gone through revisions over the last 3 or 4 years, as I've been involved in some groups that have been affected by that, and so we just need to proactively keep moving forward.
I'm not gonna touch on it because all these guys have got great ideas. Carrie, I wanted to apologize to you.
No, I'm sorry.
No,
Just passionate about them.
I get that, and I think I misunderstood the question a little bit. I thought more to compete with stuff for tax dollars that's going on. 100%, everything should be accessible, there's no reason that it shouldn't be, and I thought that was already being covered.
Yeah.
So that's my ignorance in that,
Sorry.
that I didn't understand that that was a problem,
Yeah.
right? And so, I apologize for that,
Thank you.
sincerely.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question is one that came to the mayors during the last election, and somebody submitted again. Do you understand and or speak French?
No.
Shouldn't say that.
You know what, I have your basic French, and our youngest, my daughter, she's actually in French immersion as well, so when I'm helping her with her homework, I'm actually learning as well, but definitely not fluent, definitely not something I attempt to do because I usually just make a fool of myself, so no.
Ditto. I took French to grade 12 and then my kids all went through immersion and told me that it was best if I just keep it to myself. So I just have respect for the language though, and I do really respect the French heritage that Beaumont represents.
No, I do not speak French. Like Carrie, I did take French up until grade 12, and if I am in a room where people are speaking, I can pick out enough words to get the gist of the conversation, but I will not join in, at least not in French.
Both my children are in the current French immersion program, so I figure I'm about a grade 1 level, they're grade 5 and 6. So do I speak it? No. Took it for 3 years, took an adults class even, just not a language person.
Je parle un peu français. So I took up the French 31A in high school. I had a great passion for it. I did all of the French in high school in 2 years, and then I had a year of grace. And then when I went to Red Deer College, I did take a college level French course. I speak by, it was my first D, guys, I'm sorry. I have a passion for understanding new things. I've kept all of my French binders, my wife as well, Becherel. We're trying to help our kids, move forward with some French language. And it's collected dust on the shelf, but I'm relishing the opportunity to start taking it off the shelf and sharing that with our kids. We had a lot of fun in our French class growing up. In our house, we count to 10 in French and 5 in Korean, thanks to our taekwondo master.
The short answer is no, I do not speak French, but I am very grateful that I get to raise my kids in a community that has such a rich French heritage. Both my daughters, we moved here in 2007, and that was a big selling point, was to have a town and a community with such a diverse culture. My daughters have been in immersion since preschool, at the preschool in town here, all the way up. They're now 15 and 13, and they have clean conversations that I will never know what they're talking about, which is both something that makes me very proud and afraid, so. Yeah, so personally, I do not speak French other than the occasional ooh la la, but I am very proud to live in this community, and I think our French heritage is something we do need to embrace and continue with, and I only wish that I had the learning capacity at this stage of my life to learn another language. Perhaps someday that will happen.
Like the other candidates, I took French up in high school. I can give you most of the animals, colors. I don't roll my R's. And then back to the last question real quick, and then I'll catch up next one, I promise. I love Beaumont. I love the French village theme. I love that we're unique. I'd love to see the downtown of Beaumont like a white avenue that people would go for a walk and visit the artist stores and do those type of things. We drop our kids off at the rink in a lot of towns. And there's not a lot of towns you can walk. We love to get down to Cochrane, Okotoks, those type of places where we can drop the kids. We've got a lot of parents coming into town every weekend for sporting activities, be it hockey, be it soccer, be it whatever. And if we've got a great downtown, they're going to drop their kids off an hour early and come for a visit and visit our businesses. So we've got a great ability to attract people, and I think the Unique does that. Thank you.
No, I'm just kidding. No. I wanted to be the only one up here to say that, but no, the short answer is no, I don't either.
Okay, any other questions from the audience?
What is your opinion on transit?
I think it starts with food. You get your there when you likes this.
I'm glad it's here. I think that it's an excellent service for commuter traffic. I'm looking forward to the day that we can afford to make it more than just commuter transit. I'd love to see another bus route at say 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And so then hopefully it would be available to not just commuters, it would be more available to say students and seniors that want to go into town. Right now it is restricted, but I believe it's a much needed service, and we're going to be ready when we go to regional transportation.
When I was walking around door knocking in the initial campaign, this came up a lot. And my response to people was, I think that it's a needed thing for the community. I thought that maybe it was stepped into a bit much to start, that it should have started with smaller buses. However, it's here. From what I've heard, the buses are getting quite full, they're getting a lot of ridership, and it is showing a success. They've already added an extra stop, which I think is another success for that transit system. What I think we need to do while it's growing and while it's being introduced to the community is let's utilize it in other ways. Let's use the buses for trips into the city for hockey games, things like that. Let's start utilizing the buses in other ways as it grows to make the most of the system while it's here.
Okay, I like the bus route. It gets people to and from school that don't have a car. It makes university much easier. Also for the people that work downtown, once again, it makes the commute easier. From my understanding at the budget meeting, the ridership is actually higher than expected, which is something nice to know because it may not end up paying for itself, but the cost recovery is at least starting there. We have the bus, there's no point in getting rid of it now. If we were to get rid of it, we have to pay back our grants that we received for it. So it'd be something that was gonna put us even farther in the hole than what we currently are. So I guess the best thing is to start using it more, it'll start paying for itself, and people do use it.
Thank you for the question. So for me, I'm looking forward to hearing the CAO update that was requested at the budget workshop, and I did hear that the ridership is higher than expected, but I'd like to see that quantified on paper. I want to look at the numbers and see for myself. At some point, we were going to get transit. Transit's here. We used some grant funding to get that. and now it's our job to make the best of it and help it move forward. One of my campaign pillars is regional cooperation. During the original campaign, I spent some time and I traveled down to Lacombe and I met with the Mayor of Lacombe, talked to him about some of the sister issues that we have, and one of them was transit. Lacombe, Black Falls, and Red Deer partnered together in transit. I gotta make this really quick. Basically, Green Trip funding from Lacombe and Black Falls said, here, Red Deer, you got buses, you got bus barns, we'll build some bus stops and draw a line on a map, you follow it. That's a real simplified version of regional cooperation. That's what they did. A lot of development of the airport. Everything's getting built out there. We need to focus on getting it out.
Well, we have a bus, we have transit, and it is here, and I am not one who ever believes in looking backwards. I think we need to look forwards. As it's been mentioned, from what I hear, the early projections are we are exceeding the initial projected ridership, so that's great. I have a son who is in MacEwan University, and he's been taking the bus whenever he can, whenever it aligns with his schedule, and it's been a great service for him. As with all things, we need to proactively review and pay attention to them and make sure that they're being successful through our support. We need to look at how we can promote the bus and within our community and increase the ridership and promote it outside our community and try and bring people in to walk around our beautiful French Village downtown core whenever we can. As well as that, I think we need to look at how we can generate additional revenue to help support the transit service through advertising on the buses, and eventually when we have more than one bus stop, you know, we can have bus bench type advertising. As long as it's tasteful and meets our needs, it's an excellent source of revenue.
I was a bit of a skeptic when the bus first started, like a lot of people in town. But from knocking on doors, talking to people, it seems it's working for quite a few people. So hopefully the ridership increases and it becomes successful. I think as we look towards the future, you know, Edmonton's coming our direction. Maybe we can get them to put a transit stop closer, like a big central area that we can just run our buses into, and maybe our buses can stop just picking up at the BRAC and they can run around town and get people from stops around town, make the best of it and make it better. We've got the buses, so that might work. My son actually is going to start taking the bus because he had a secret parking spot at Century Park LRT that they put a sign up yesterday for 2-hour parking. So I've been bugging him to try it. He was resistant because of his schedule, but next week he'll try it, so I'll have better things to report next week.
I think the transit is much needed. It's what I hear out there is that we need more stops and a little bit different times as well. Some university students are missing their last bus, so they have to grab a ride from somewhere else or a taxi, whatever it might be. We need more stops. We need to bring the buses to the riders and not all riders to the bus on the stop we have now. Something simple that could be added that would maybe add 20 minutes to the bus time running around Beaumont is just on the ring road. That's the most common stops that everybody says, even from Four Seasons, from Forest Heights, they say bring to the ring road, we can come to the ring road. It's not a big deal, but walking all the way in -30 weather, all the way to the BRAC, it's a little bit more difficult. I also think it should be utilized, like someone else said, for Eskimo games, Oiler games. It would be used, I think, quite a bit for sports events, things like that.
Okay, so where do you start? Everybody's touched base on everything that I would say, so I don't want to repeat that. I think that there are a few things that we're missing. I know Jeremy talked about the, advertising on the bus and promoting that and generating some income off of that, which would be great. But I think we also need to look at collaboration with our neighbors. When I was a councillor for 3 weeks, I actually got to meet, I got to meet with councillors from the city of Leduc, whom I actually know on a regular basis from work. But I also got to meet quite a few of the councillors and mayors with Leduc County. And one of the things that we had talked about was transit. And Leduc County, when I was speaking with them, one of their things is trying to see if there's a way that instead of them bringing in their own transit and doing their own thing, why can't they help them piggyback off of us as well? So that of course will stream from promoting, marketing, advertising. Okay, someone in Leduc, maybe that time doesn't work for when they go to the city into Leduc, but maybe it'll work for Beaumont and they can drive into Beaumont and take the bus from here. So we gotta look at those. And you need a hook, right? It's not staging.
Gentleman back here.
So my question to the people on the panel is this. The town recently spoke at the last election. There is only 2 returning councillors coming back from the previous council. That means the town asked for and wanted change. And I'm a kind of person that looks at innovation, change, and new ideas and concepts. I would like each of you to give an idea to the group as to an idea or innovation or change that you would bring to the new council that is different than what we've seen in the past. Or if you don't have an example right now, something that you have done in the past to invoke change, or something that's innovative, and then what did you do when it failed?
This is a difficult place to start. A way that I would like to see us, I would like to see us using our green spaces more. I would like to see us using the green spaces as an opportunity to draw people and events into our community. I don't know if I necessarily have an innovative way to bring this about yet, but just advertising. Let's get out there, let's go places, let's find them. An idea I did have was pop-up shops are starting to become a thing. People are doing them. Let's bring pop-up shops to Beaumont. Let's get that. People can come in for a day, they can see Beaumont, they can see what we have. Maybe they'll bring more commercial business to our community. I would really like to see us utilizing our community to draw people in. And like I say, pop-up shops, events, let's get them out here, let's go out and invite them.
I guess mine would be trying different ways to build a sense of community. Having the barbecues, I know right now we do the movies as well. Just trying to get different events that all of the community can get involved in, from young to old. Because I find right now the events we're doing usually only target a certain age group or a certain demographic. Like the movie nights are usually just more for the kids. So I'd like something that can have everybody in the town involved. I'm sorry you put me on the spot, I don't have an idea off the top of my head.
I'm going to take a little bit of a different slant on this question, and I'm going to talk about some ideas. So innovation, I think you said innovation and change, and how you bring that to the council. As a business owner, we were friends first, we were business owners second. One of the things that we did as a team, me and my business partners, is we sat down and we created kind of a little charter. And we put it on a postcard to celebrate. I should have brought one tonight. It contained our we wills and our we will nots. We will succeed as a team, we will fail as a team. We will not make excuses. And oh darn, there was a whole bunch of things. But getting to know each other well, creating a culture of collaboration, creating a culture where after meetings, you go for a beer, you chat. The ability to have spirited conversations, be it arguments, turn around, walk away, shake hands, and say, man, we had a good meeting. That's what I would like to bring.
There's a lot of our community is built up of a lot of individual groups. There's a lot of non-for-profit groups, over 120 of them in this town actually, which is a lot for the size of town we have. And those involve arts and culture and sports and recreation and dance as in a number of things. And in the last year or so, I've been part of one group that's been kind of bringing all the arts groups under one umbrella. And then I've had the pleasure of sitting in on meetings with the sports group that's also doing that. And I know there's other groups, and I think we're moving in the right direction by getting people together and collaborating. I think we need to now take that one step further and get the sports and rec groups communicating with the arts groups and other groups like that, because we all have similar concerns and similar needs and similar requirements of the town, and that is as far as resources and finances and everything else under that umbrella. So I think we just need to keep stepping that forward and getting those groups collaborating and working together until, you know, it benefits everybody in the town.
This is actually an easy one for me because we had this happen in November. The pop-up shop idea was an idea, and I'd heard it on the radio. And I thought, Remembrance Day, I go over to the Legion in Leduc, and it's about the camaraderie afterwards, getting together for a beer, talking with people, socializing. In Beaumont, we don't have that. We've got a cenotaph, and it's cold, and you're standing outside, and everybody's running to get away. So my idea was a pop-up Legion. So I actually contacted command at the Leduc Legion, and I said, is this something you guys would be interested in, a pop-up Legion? Where we take over a restaurant or the community center, and we make it a Legion. We put up some pictures, we make it feel like it's a Legion for the afternoon. And they'd actually never heard that idea before. They were like, it's an amazing idea, let's do it. Well, it was November 3rd, so we didn't have time to get it done. So it hasn't failed yet, and watch out for next year.
The biggest one I would say is back to the businesses. I would definitely be an advocate for businesses, new and existing. I want to bring up within the first few town councils a motion to review and revise the sign bylaws for one, to help with wayfinding, to also help with advertising of what services they provide. The businesses coming in, especially the new ones, existing as well, but every business needs to know that everybody in Beaumont has a genuine interest and a hope for success for them in this town. We're open for business, we want their business, and we need to make that really known for them. Something simple that we can also add is adding information sheets when they come to town hall to fill out paperwork for licenses, to provide for EWE, which is Empowering Women Entrepreneurs, or the Chamber, to help them advise or mentor them in the beginning stages of their business.
Okay, so I have two, so I'm gonna whip through them really, really quickly. So one of them is definitely youth engagement within our community. I'd like to see more businesses involved with the Chantal Ruby Youth Center. I'd like to see business involvement as well as business sponsorship. So those two things are two totally different things. As a business owner, I can definitely help people with their resumes. I can help with interview processes. I can do all that stuff. And so can all the other business owners in town. So that's one thing. And just to maybe touch base with the CBYC and just, you know, add some really awesome new programs in there that are a little bit more up to date, a little bit more what people want or what the youth want. Second of all is the new business attraction plan. I would love to see a plan where, you know, a business owner can come into town and we can say, here's a package of everything Beaumont has to offer. This is what you need. This is who you need to contact for this. This is who you need to contact for that. We need that. We should be at the bridal shows, the franchise shows, the gift shows, all those things. We should be there saying, come to Beaumont, open your business here. This is what we're looking for. This is what we want. This is the information you need. Call me when you have questions. And another minute gone.
I guess when I was on council, I pushed forward a few notices of motion that didn't get passed on social collaboration and social policy. Well, when that didn't work, I went and empowered some of the local nonprofits to do it themselves, to start working together. Now, I think if we're going to look at innovation, I would start looking right to the economic development, looking at the home-based businesses that we have close to 300 of them, and start asking, what are their needs? Do we need to maybe start, set up trade condos so some of these people can move from their garages into space that is economically feasible? I think that we have to build on what we have already here in Beaumont.
Any questions from this side of the room?
One of the things that all you guys seem to agree on is revenues and how important they are with the acquisition of the new land surrounding Beaumont. What do you want to see break forward those revenues through big business instead of small business?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah.
Sorry, it was...
How do we attract big business into this new land, if that's even in the plan? I think I heard that was the plan south of 625, but you know, what are we going to do to, you know, how is it important to you to bring in the revenue from big business?
Honestly, out there, the main thing I'd like to see start off would be a hotel. It has the room to grow and expand there. I know council is doing some reviews on what's gonna be put in the land and where. Those would have to be done before any strategic plans can be continued. That's just something I personally would like to see there, because it has the space where there's not many other spaces here in Beaumont.
New land and big business as well. One of the things I've seen while attending the council meetings was the picture when they put up the E-land structure plan. And, there is what that is going to look like right now, and we can all go look at it online. One of the things that surprised me a bunch when that was being presented was they've presented things in priorities as it goes right now. And you can have a look online. Priority 1 is directly west. Priority 2, directly west of the pool. Priority 2 is, close to that. It kind of goes north, and I was very surprised to see priority 12 was along 625. Our highest traffic route around our area is east-west on 625. And if we're gonna put businesses there, I think it better be closer to 1 or 2 than 12. So that's one of the ideas that I brought forward. And that I will bring forward is, let's see if we can reprioritize some of that to bring business to where the traffic is.
The mayor and the council for the town, unfortunately, doesn't have the power to dictate what businesses want to set up here. What we do have the power of is making it inviting for businesses to want to come to town. Giving them the opportunities, making sure that there is the land appropriately set aside and reasonably priced. It's been mentioned that lease rates can be quite high in this town. I think when it comes down to it, it's not a short-term solution. There's a long game that has to be played. We're not going to change from our 95-5 tax split overnight or this year or maybe not in the next 4 years, but what we need to do is start the planning. We need to do something. We need to be proactive and develop those plans so that we are set up for the next 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, so that we can get away from that 95-5 tax split and take some of the burden off of the homeowners in this town. And to do that, we can certainly work with our developers to mandate a certain percentage of their new developments go to, commercial and light industrial and other sorts of uses.
A few times in my last campaign and this campaign, I said we have to go out and sell ourselves and not just put up a for sale or a land for lease sign. It's important. I don't know if people realize, but S&D Aquafit hasn't been sponsored in 9 years since it opened its doors. They pulled out and we never got the money for the sponsorship on it. So we can't even sell our name on a building. We need to get out and sell Beaumont. We've got an economic development officer, and his job should be to identify the types of businesses that we would like to attract to Beaumont. And then we as an executive council should be making meetings, trying to attract those businesses. Amazon's not gonna come knocking on your door. I'm not saying Amazon will, that was huge for Beaumont, or for whoever gets it. But whoever's proactive and goes out and finds that business and gives them an offer first is probably gonna get a pretty good shot at it. So we have to go out and sell ourselves. I think that's up to administration, it's up to council, it's up to everybody in town. If you have your business, why do you not have your head office in town? We should have our head office here.
The biggest way to attract businesses to our town is to sell our town. We're the 5th fastest growing community in Canada. We have that to our advantage. Companies should be banging down on our door to come here to set up shop, but again, it goes back to the high cost of renting, the high cost of lease. What we need to do is go out, and someone that was elected to council that's great in communications is Councillor Sam Blancoff-Swain. He is the one that I would go to if elected to say, come on, let's work together and get some businesses going here. We really need collaboration within council to have a master plan to go forward and attract these businesses coming to town.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say it again, and like Sean and I believe Stephen and even Scott, like all of us are all saying, we just need to bring these businesses to town. We need to sell ourselves, we need to market, we need to advertise. We need to say, we are open for business, we want you. But there's also a little bit more to it. We need to identify the reasons why businesses are not staying, why they aren't entertaining Beaumont, why. We need to figure that out and we need to fix that. We need to entice them to come back. We also need to look at some of the inefficiencies that a business owner does encounter. There are a lot of things that I've encountered here in Beaumont that I wouldn't have that issue in Edmonton or any of the other municipalities that I work in, because it's just this loophole that, or not a loophole, sorry, it's this extra hoop that we have to go through, and it doesn't make sense. I have business licenses all over Alberta for my event company, and I think the hardest one, unfortunately, was to get mine for Beaumont. It was actually quite difficult to do. So I think we need to update those processes as well and have a look. Sorry.
I agree with everyone up here who's talked about, going after the businesses. We have to market Beaumont, we have to align what we have to offer to what big business needs. We can't just wait for it. But the other thing is, we're also waiting for the developers to come in and put that infrastructure in the ground. Maybe it's time to take the risk and front end the infrastructure so we can get the economy going here.
This is something that I had a lot of discussions about in my initial campaign, and to attract business to town, we need to give them a reason to come here. I think a great start to that is, let's get a hotel. With a hotel, we can expand on events in our community. If the events are in the community, the businesses will have more reason to come because there will be more people here. I think that will be one of the best ways to build on it. Also, we need to consider what kind of businesses can be sustainable in our community. We can't focus just on storefront. Let's work on getting some corporate services, putting our offices out here. Let's get things that are going to be sustainable, businesses that are going to be long-term, businesses that are already successful and looking for a new location or an expansion. And I think that is the best way that we are going to grow our commercial tax base.
Okay, anybody else have a question? Thank you very much, Gil, for coordinating this, and thank you for all of you for sitting at the table, taking the questions. You've all talked about collaboration. Beaumont has just gone through the whole process of annexing the land that we were successful in annexing. And so going forward, there's lots of discussions as to how we propose to collaborate. So what do you see as far as the collaboration process that's required to ensure that Beaumont's future is also taken consideration? Tough one again.
Thank you for being the first person on the second tough question, and thank you for the question. Regional collaboration is something I printed on the bottom of my first card, a campaign pillar. I have to admit, when I put that on there, I knew it was something we needed to do, but the how do we do it part is the whole part of this question. Along the way, I've learned that regional cooperation is more than just shaking hands and buying coffee. It's more than just going to meetings. It's understanding and building relationships. We're obligated to go to different boards and be on part of different commissions, and we meet people through trade shows and marketing events. And I think relationship building is always where it started in business, and so that's where I believe it starts in our regional cooperation area. There are dollars set aside in the current budget for the facilitation of that cooperation, because you have to first be part of regional systems and boards as well. So there's two parts to it.
Some questions are just too short to answer.
Well, I think we're on the right track. Having spent the last few months, I've kept in touch with some of our new council and mayor, and been kind of keeping an eye on how things are going. And I'm really excited for our future. I think that the council that you all elected in October is working well together and proactively making the steps that we need forward to building those relationships. And I've talked about the long game here earlier tonight, and that's really what it is. It's things don't happen overnight. There's a lot of new faces in the capital region, in a few of the communities, including ours, and it's gonna take a little time and effort, and I think we're doing the work. And personally, I have mentioned I have a background in the not-for-profit sector as well as in project management, and really the number one key to success in all of those has been relationship building and working with people and learning how to literally hear people and not, you hear with your ears before you speak, and I think that's important, and I think we're on the right track.
I think for regional collaboration, it's gonna take meetings, attending the conferences, the regional conferences, and then listening to what the neighbors need, and hopefully they'll listen to what we need. And coming to an agreement that everybody's happy with. I mean, it's pretty simple. Grabbing the land was a great idea. We've got it. But in that process, a couple of our neighbors were a little mad about it. So we need to sit down with them, bury the hatchet, and we need to figure out what it's gonna take to make everybody happy again. So just talking with them, communicating, finding out what they wanna do, what they want from us, what we can give them, and coming to a compromise in the middle that makes both sides happy, that's what we need to do in the future. Thank you.
From what I've heard and seen, I think our current mayor and council have done a significant job making the relationships with our regional partners from Leduc County, Edmonton. I think they've gone out and they've started the conversation, started the relationship, and that's what it takes. If we sat back and didn't want to talk to them or anything, that would look bad right off the start. But they went out to the conferences, went out to the training sessions that they had, and they went and talked. There's good conversation out there throughout the political community that our mayor and councils have done a great job so far.
So I've had the pleasure of actually working with current council, and one of the things that I really loved is that we were, attending seminars and all that stuff. And I mean, you've got 4 new council members, you've got Perry and Kathy, they're all fantastic, and they are out there and they are working the rooms. They are chatting, they're shaking hands, they're getting to know everybody, and they're getting to know where everyone's from. And I think that's really where it starts. It's just identifying who you need to know. And I think the next thing we need to do though is we need to start asking these, the other councillors in the regional, the other regions, we'll just say. And I think asking them, hey, so I heard you guys got a bus. We sure did. You want to collaborate on something like that? Hey, that's something we should seriously look at. Same thing with the aquafit. I've been approached by a few of the other municipalities asking, well, what's the deal with the aquafit? Maybe there's a way that we could help and piggyback off of you guys as well and collaborate. So I don't think it's just about building the relationships and the meetings. It's actually just being upfront enough to be able to ask for what you're looking for. And to be able to listen to them and see what they want as well, and see if it incorporates with what we want.
Thanks for the question, Camille. I think that this speaks more to a fear that if we partner or we work with our regional partners, will we get exactly what we want? And the answer is no. And I think that by working together, we can get more. We may not get everything that we want, but we can do it more effectively, more efficiently, and more with respect to the economy and sustainability. We can do it more economically sustainable. If we partner with the infrastructure costs, if we partner with transit, everything is better if we're doing it together. We can offer so much more, and I think the whole idea of regional collaboration is spoken to across the board, federally, provincially, and now it's up to us in our municipality to encourage that with our nonprofits and our kids. It's a big picture, but I think that we're on the right track.
I think one of the best ways that Beaumont can collaborate to ensure the future is to be a great neighbor. When we're working with our regional partners, we need to identify our common goals and identify how the benefits that will be mutual to all the involved partners. When we are out there, we need to advocate for Beaumont. We need to consider our partners, but our forefront needs to be what is going to be best for our community. We always, like I say, with the mutual benefits, just that needs to be at the forefront. How can we benefit Beaumont with these collaborations, and how will our collaborations benefit the other communities and the regional partners?
I feel we collaborate by understanding and building relationships. We build these relationships by going to our conferences, the advisory boards, listening to our other communities. What do they need? What do we need? And how can we work together? We need to learn to compromise. We may not get everything on our checkboard checked off, but if we can get most of them and everybody's happy, that's the way to go.
Okay, we have a question from over here.
Yeah, personally, I think that the residents of Beaumont did a fine job of electing the current council. I'm not just saying that because they're sitting beside me. No pressure whatsoever, and I'm not reading from a cue card. I want to know though, and I think that the current council, what I'm impressed with going to the council meeting so far is just how cohesive they are. They're a very well-rounded group with various experiences in the past, a variety of age groups, there are different parts of their life, things like that. What do you candidates as individuals, what specific or new skill set do you bring to that group? And do you personally feel that you can work with the current council to make it that much better?
I agree. I think that we have a good group, and I've been in this town for 10 years, and I think that this group just is building on a great foundation that was laid by the council and mayor before them. Personally, what I would like to bring to this group is, my own personal passion and experience in this town. I've lived here since 2007. And I've been intimately involved in a number of community groups that I've already mentioned, and I think that that level of experience and knowledge and first-hand experience from the user side of things, working with the administration and working with the different levels of administration, working with the policy, working with the permitting and the rules and everything that goes along with that, I think it brings a unique perspective that some of our council doesn't have. And as I mentioned, I have a background in nonprofits and working in relationship building and things that are going to add great value to that team. So I'm out of time.
When I attended the budget workshop on the weekend, it was actually really great to see council working together. I did a quick YouTube video or Facebook video thanking them for it. It was actually quite educational. They worked well together. There was differing point of views. There was laughter. If you didn't watch it on Facebook, it was actually quite funny. At one point, Mayor Stewart actually almost spit his coffee out. So they disagreed on stuff, but they laughed about it, and they got along well together. What I would bring to the team is I've got great ideas. Being a business owner for 15 years, you have to always come up with new ideas. Like I said, the Pop-Up Legion was one. I'm always thinking, always trying to come up with something innovative. When I'm driving down the road, I'm looking at things, what can we use that for, what can we do that for? I think I've got that ability to look at things differently than other people, so hopefully that would be a good asset to the team. Thank you.
If elected, I would love to work with the current town council. Most of them I did vote for them myself. There wasn't all 6 that I voted for, obviously one was for my vote, but that'd be really bad if it wasn't. The biggest thing I bring is, like Sean just, I'm going to use your word too, innovative. I'm honest, I have thick skin. So if you disagree with something, bring it up with me. I've been through behavioral courses before, studying the human behavior and relationships, and it's something that I like to strive at and succeed at, of building good relationships even when it might start rocky or there's some things where you disagree with me with. It's something that I strive to be the best at, where I want to work with everyone, and whether we get off on the wrong foot or not, or you have a disagreement with me, we can work it out and move on and be the best council that we can be.
tough question. What can I offer and bring to current council? You know what, my experience as a business owner is, I think it's kind of a good one there, simply because I've started businesses and I've had to go through the processes, and I can offer some insight on how hard it is to attract new businesses here, how hard and difficult it may be to have a business here in Beaumont. And I think the other thing is my background in property tax assessment. I've been doing that for almost 18 years now, and I know a lot more than, well, most people do, should anyways. And I think that having that knowledge will really help with budgeting. It'll help with understanding the tax process and how it works and where that money goes, so, yeah.
I think my biggest asset is that I've been on council before. I feel that being on council isn't about power and control. It's about relationship building, and it's about working collaboratively together to achieve greatness, really. And I believe that I have the passion to do that. I also believe that the municipal process knowledge that I have, along with the policy knowledge that I have of the current policies that are in place, I think is very beneficial. And I have a knowledge base of both federal and provincial, I guess, strategies that directly affect our own strategies and our own strategies as a municipality. So, and I also feel that being a business owner, I have a unique insight into what's going on in our community.
I think that something unique that I bring to the table is in my work with special needs children. It is not predictable. It is never predictable. You can go in there with a very set plan. We're going to do this and this and this. They decide, no, I'm not doing anything. You have to think on your feet. You have to be able to spin on a dime to get the best that you can out of them. And if they're not willing to work with you their way, then you have to go into in your way, then you have to go with them and work with them their way. So I think that's something that I bring. Also, when I'm working with special needs children, I'm the forefront, I'm the one in there, but I'm instituting everything that the team has planned. I'm doing the speech, I'm doing the occupational therapy, I'm doing all those things, and we have to collaborate on that. And you have to collaborate well to give these kids the best programs that you can. Another thing is that I'm always learning, always trying to expand my knowledge, and very interested in that.
I find I bring a great experience to the town council, or will bring a great experience to the town council. As I'm a financial planner, I deal with numbers all day long. I have no issues asking for more information, more numbers, more explanations. I am our major demographic in Beaumont. So I like to see a few more of us on council. I feel I would fit in great with the council. I've currently had coffee with a few of them. For the ones that I have gotten to know, I seem to get along with pretty good.
Thanks for the question. I know I get along with with all of the councillors and mayor because I've spent a lot of time with them. I've spent a lot of time before meetings, I've spent a lot of time after meetings. Got to know everyone actually during the last campaign. The group of candidates gelled really well during the last campaign. At heart, I'm a collaborator and I'm a strong communicator. I'm the guy at work that's counted on to get things done. I'm the guy at work that says, you know, before we make this change, have we talked to the people it's going to affect? Have we got their opinion on it? Because if not, we best go do that. I'm not afraid to ask tough questions. And at the end of the day, I really value the handshake at the end of the meeting. I'm going to end this one with a quote from Councillor Hendricks, actually. He was leaving the meeting one night, and I caught up with him and said, you know, you look a little frustrated tonight. What's wrong? And he said, we're elected to get things done, and tonight we didn't get things done. I'm going to be someone who gets stuff done in Beaumont.
So that is the end of the questions. So the last thing we have to do is give each of our candidates 1 minute to tell us why you should vote for them. And since we started that end, we're going to start this end with our.
Thank you. First of all, again, I just want to thank Gail Fortress for putting this together and along with the Colonial Golf Course for hosting it, so I do appreciate it. As a community advocate and your counselor, I listened to your concerns, challenged the status quo, and brought forward countless notices of motion, all to effect positive change. Out of my drive and determination to have your concerns heard came a creative edge that I'm now known to possess. In order to develop strategies, we have to analyze our current conditions from an objective and an informed perspective. Yes, we are products of our past, but we do not have to be prisoners of it. I want you to understand that I am committed to open communication, effective delivery of services, balanced taxation, business development, local and regional relationships, and economic stability. I have the knowledge, the insight, the experience, and the commitment to be your voice on council. On February 5th, let us all commit to growing Beaumont together. Vote Carrie Bauer.
I will hopefully be just one voice, but I can be your voice. As a counselor, I'm not always going to be able to fix everything. However, I will bring your concerns forward. I will work diligently to answer your questions, and I will work with you to achieve a mutually feasible solution. Yes, I want to attract new businesses. Yes, I want to work with you. Yes, I want to listen to you, and yes, I want to represent you. As a business owner, I have really great flexibility, so I'm available pretty much all the time. I'm an outgoing person. I have a strong background in marketing, advertising, networking, property tax assessment, and obviously as an entrepreneur. I volunteer often in the community. I'm the president of the Beaumont Youth Positive Ticketing Program, and I would have to say that I devote about 15 hours a month towards volunteering within the community. And then of course on top of that, you've got your kids and your programs in your school. So I do give back as much as I can. Really quick quote, change will not come if we wait for some other person or other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. And that was from Barack Obama. So seek that change and vote Sabrina. Sorry.
First off, I want to thank Gail Fortress and Colonial Golf Course for hosting this. Well done, Gail, for putting this on. I thank my wife and kids, family, friends, all my supporters for being there with the last election and this one coming so soon. They were all like, again. So I thank you for all your help, your guidance, your love. It's very much appreciated. I'm someone that will bring passion, hard work, fiscal responsibility, and honesty to town council. If elected, I really want to create opportunities for businesses, new and old. I want to plan and prioritize recreational facilities, get something sooner than later, hopefully either Aquafit Phase 2 or whatever we may come out of talks and getting all the information in. I also want to create partnerships with organizations and community members. I need collaboration to achieve greatness, and I think we have it in this town. We have the potential to be great. If elected, I work very hard and do my best, or do the best job possible.
I'm hoping to get elected on February 5th so I can practice my public speaking a little bit more. It's pretty tough to stand up here, but I want to talk about my experience with my family. I've got a 10-year-old, a 16-year-old, and an 18-year-old. We've got elementary school, graduating high school, and going into NAIT. So I actually represent all the demographics across the families in town. I've been through it. I've been through the childcare, the daycare, finding availability for space, taking the bus into NAIT, as we talked about. So, bursting at the seams high school, which I realize is a municipal problem, but there's regional collaboration on that. So I cover all of those bases. And then as a business person over the next 5 to 10 years for Beaumont's growth, it's going to be very important dealing with businesses. we've talked about it, we have to bring more business to town, we have to, you know, attract commercial real estate to our properties. So having one business owner meet with another business owner would be a great way to do that. Thank you.
You will be choosing just one person who will be joining an effective group who has already been working hard on a long-term vision for the future of Beaumont. And you need to decide who you believe to be the best candidate to step into that team. It's not an easy decision. You have 8 candidates before you tonight that are very passionate about this town. But who will best serve that current team? I've done the work to prepare. I've earned the respect in our community, and for 10 years I have promoted and supported this town as a volunteer. I bring professionalism, integrity, accountability, with a passion and connectedness to this community. Like our mayor and council, I share the importance of long-term planning, and I have the patience and the organization to execute these plans, and I can adapt to ever-changing situations. I will act based on what's best for our whole community, representing all the people in Beaumont, even those who don't agree with me. I know this is a very difficult decision, but I wouldn't be standing here now if I wasn't 100% confident that I am ready to take on the role and to do the hard work that's required as your next councillor in Beaumont.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, and I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in online. Community engagement is my thing. It's something that I've been doing throughout the whole campaign. I don't think people believed me at the beginning, but I'm committed to it. You can see my commitment in my attendance at meetings and my continual delivery of notes, bringing back to the community. Going back to December 5th, 2016, I was just a guy in Sobeys. Wandering around, enjoyed being a part of town, wanted to meet people, wanted to learn more about people, and I put my name forward to be a candidate. Since that time, I've campaigned, I've attended events, I've met new people, I've learned things about town continually every day. There are things that surprise me about this town, and I'm someone who is willing to make decisions and get things done. I think that you know, we can study this and we can study that, but at the end of the day, we owe the town a decision. And it is very important that everyone gets out to vote. By-elections are tough, and I humbly ask for your support on the upcoming election. Thank you.
In closing, I'd like to thank all of you for coming and for Gil for setting this up. I feel I'd be a great fit for town councillor. I consider myself an open and honest person who is willing to listen to both sides of an argument. Consider the various options and possible outcomes before I make my decisions. I'm also a certified financial planner. Every day, my clients place their financial well-being in my hands. Because of this, I understand the significance of responsible planning and using your tax dollars wisely. I'm also a team player. I feel I'd work well with the current council, as each member has a niche they are very good at. Mine would be the financial planning. I want to be your voice and will make informed decisions that reflects the community's interest. As a longtime resident, I have heard and shared many of those concerns and needs. We need Beaumont to become a place of opportunity. We need to see more economic development and to help with our town. Thank you for considering me as your next town councillor, Christine McCardle.
I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This is a wonderful turnout. I don't think any of us knew what to expect. My reasons for running have not changed. I ran in the initial election to be a voice for the residents inside and outside of council chambers, and to be open and available to listening to their concerns and desires for the community. If elected, my priority is to make sure those same interests are considered and represented during discussion and decision-making in council chambers. My commitment to community did not stop on October 16th. I viewed the results of the election as an opportunity to create a new path for myself. It was a new beginning. I ran for council to be an involved and engaged part of the community, and my desire to continue on that path did not change. I have attended council meetings and committee of the whole meetings since the election, taking notes and posting them. I have remained a committed volunteer and volunteered for multiple events since the election. While attending the council meetings, thank you very much, and please vote for me.
All right, well, that concludes our debate this evening. I'm sure the candidates will be around for a few more minutes, so if you have questions for any individuals, please feel free. And again, thank you all for coming this evening. All of you at home, thank you for watching online. And Colonial Golf Course, thank you very much for allowing us to use your facilities for this. And on February 5th, please get all your neighbors out to vote. Every vote counts. Thank you.